Hello friends, Tal here, and welcome to normal/heroic Ursoc in the Emerald Nightmare Raid. This is a pretty easy, pretty standard fight, two tankable fight with essentially just three mechanics that you have to worry about, one of which does not exist on normal. Basically for normal, you stand still, you don't move the boss at all, he will still charge out, you still deal with the tank swap, but the third mechanic, the Roaring Cacophony, does not actually do anything, and you don't have to worry about it on that fight. But anyways, on heroic and above, this fight comes down to three simple, basic things, and it's easy to mess up this fight. It's easily fuck up your tank swaps and everything, but at the end of the day, this is a DPS check. That's all this boss is. It's very simple. It's gonna seem like it's really difficult. It's gonna seem like it's very complicated. It's not. It's very straightforward. So let's go ahead and get through those mechanics. The very first thing is Ursoc will occasionally focus target and charge that target and deal a massive amount of damage. This will do a massive amount of damage to the person and then a massive amount of damage to the raid. And it gets reduced depending on how far the person is and how many people Ursoc charges through to go ahead and do that damage. Essentially what it means is you have two groups of people and they stand in front of Ursoc, he charges through them, does less damage, the raid takes a big hit but they don't get one shot, and you continue on with the fight. That part is the only part that involves the raid for these three mechanics. It's the one out of the three that involves the raid and everything else that they're doing, and the other two rest solely on you as tanks. Let me be very clear here. If you do not have good coordination with your co-tank, if there is even a slight delay in your taunt swaps, if you guys are not comfortable communicating with each other, you're going to have a bad time, and your raid is going to absolutely hate having to deal with the tank swap issues. Now, what is a tank swap? It consists of two debuffs. One is called Overwhelming Blow, and the other one is called Rend Flesh. Overwhelming Blow is a dot it's not a dot, excuse me. It is a debuff on you that increases the damage that you take, but also increases the dot damage of Rend Flesh. Rend Flesh is a bleed, but it counts as physical damage. Essentially, what you have to do is one tank takes 2 stacks of Overwhelming Blow, and the other tank takes 1 stack of Rend Flesh, and then you taunt swap. But it does not come out that easy. It actually comes out in a very nice set rotation of blow, rend, blow, charge, blow, rend, blow. And you can sort of get this math out and do all this crazy stuff and figure out the timings of everything, but essentially if you want to make it super clear, put your co-tank on focus, and it's when they get a debuff, you taunt. When you get a debuff, they taunt. You stick to that very simple, very basic premise, you'll never have issues on this fight. The third mechanic that you have to deal with is the Roaring Cacophony, and on heroic he does not do this as often, but essentially when he roars he will leave a little puddle of goop on the floor. You just move him out. If you stand in that goop, or if any of your raid is standing on that goop when he unleashes another cacophony, they get feared. So pretty simple, pretty basic. As you can see in this video, you move him around the entire room. This is not a long fight, it's not anything crazy, but it does involve making sure that you get a bunch of these mechanics done correctly without messing it up, because again, you mess up, you basically instantly die. The Rend Flesh debuff on you, combined with the Overwhelming debuff, that you get into one-shot territory. And you always have to keep in mind that if that does happen, if someone messed up a taunt swap somewhere, you have to call for a bop from a friendly paladin of any sort, because otherwise you're just going to die. That being said, that's basically the entire encounter in a nutshell. You deal with the different tank swap, you deal with the Roaring Cacophony, and then sometimes, not often, not on heroic at least, you don't really have to be soaking the charge for Ursoc, but if you do, you just go ahead and help out your raid like that. You do get knocked back, just keep that in mind. You don't ever want to put your back to Ursoc because he does hurt, but beyond that, the encounter is very simple, very basic, and very quick. It all comes down to your DPS and your tanks not fucking it up. And trust me, it is very, very easy to fuck this up. Now, something to keep in mind is, if something does happen, if there's a miscommunication, if someone pulls aggro over the other tank, you can take the Overwhelm up to 4, and then just have the person taking the Rend Flesh take it again. You will never have 2 stacks of Rend Flesh, it drops off by then, but it's a good way to kind of reset it and get yourself into a safe little area. If you do go up to 3 or 4, your debuff is increasing the damage that you take from everything, and then just making Rend Flesh one-shot you. So you need to keep in mind that if you do go 3 or 4 because you guys fucked up at some other point in the fight, you want to start using bigger cooldowns or have your healers watch you because you're in danger zone now. But beyond that, the only other tip I can give you is, for some reason, not on heroic, this was specifically mythic, but for some reason some tank classes have trouble with the bleed. Now this isn't a bleed in the traditional sense, it's actually just physical damage that it's doing to you. So as a guardian druid, I never have issues with this, but my warrior co-tank, specifically on mythic, but I'm giving you this advice here, had a lot of issues staying alive with the bleed down. So we actually started to minimize him having that on him by having him go up to 4 stacks of the overwhelming blow. This is going to depend on your tanks. It's going to depend on what kind of tanks you're using, how geared they are, your healers, all that kind of stuff. But know that there are some options. If one tank class can't take the bleed and it's really hurting them, maybe them going up to 4 stacks as often as possible is more reasonable. It's going to depend on your raid. It's going to depend on your tanks. But again, this basically just comes down to the tanks and whether you have the DPS in your whole raid. So that's it, guys. Very simple fight. Not the most fun, honestly, especially not on Mythic where it's just a gigantic DPS race. But overall, it was a good idea and concept. Maybe it just hasn't worked out. And god damn it, Ursoc still hasn't dropped my hidden artifact skin, and I am salty as hell about that. See you guys around. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and drop it a like. You can subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content just like this. And I want to thank the time each and every single one of you took out of your day to go ahead and watch this, as well as a very special thank you to my Patreon patrons who continue to make this dream a reality through their monthly continued support. If you'd like to go ahead and become a Patreon patron, you can go ahead and click right there on the logo. It'll take you right to the page. And other than that, you can go ahead and tweet me or follow me at Tauriel here on Twitter. And I hope you guys have a wonderful, fantastic day. See you guys around.
Turns to gray, we'll calmly walk away from the fray. When structure falls and all